you guys doing? Welcome back to my channel, and today I am interviewing my art teacher. Now, if you're a member of my Patreon, I did say I am going to art school, my glasses. I did say I'm going to art school, and this is the man who is tutoring me in this amazing world of art, and my art style is what I call cheap coloring book style, and he has promised to bring my cheap coloring book style into the realm of realism. But we're not going to go on that first. First, I really want to know what's going on, because this is Mr. Kirkland Smith, and he's been an art teacher in the country of Belize for how many years now?
Well, over 20 years.
Wow, over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
And what got you started in art education?
When?
What? What got you started?
Wow, that's a very good question. Art has always been a part of what I do as a person, and I think it is a calling. I started teaching art by accident. Well, I say by accident because it wasn't in my career choice. I never wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to do something in science, probably become a doctor, or be a scientist or a nurse like you, right? Something like that. Because I thought that in that way I could give back to my country and I can do more for the development of Belize. But art called me into that career, and teaching art, I think I enjoy that a lot more now today than when I first started.
And what mediums do you mostly use? Because I'm mostly watercolor. What do you mostly use?
My favorite medium is acrylic paint.
Yeah, we're gonna be enemies.
Yes, we will be enemies. Yeah, I have my views about watercolors, but my favorite medium is acrylic paint.
As I see, I love acrylic pieces around just like, yes, no, I love the movement. Watercolor, the movement, how it just, it's a dance between the artist and the watercolor paints, and acrylic just stay there.
Acrylic is still nice, I can throw a whole bucket of water now. Watercolor piece, and let's see what happens.
What kind of, are you more a portraiture artist, a landscape artist, still life?
I think because I'm a teacher, I try to be well-rounded. I try to be acquainted with the different materials, the different styles, and the different types of art.
So when you're saying the different styles, are you talking about comic artists, cartoon, visuals?
Along that line, in painting alone, we have a lot of styles, from cubism to impressionism to realistic. So we have different styles in just under one umbrella of art. And in drawing, the same thing, we focus on that. I mostly focus on realistic work in drawing, a lot of realistic work, and that's where I help my students to grow in that area.
And okay, let's go on the hypothesis. Let's say, where do you teach first of all?
I teach at St. John's College,
which is for
a high school.
A high school that is in my country, that is for mostly males.
All boys high school, only all boys high school.
So you guys know.
Jesuit education.
I am not going to be a student at St. John's Junior College.
Junior college, yes, not at the high school.
I could be a student at the junior college, but not the high school, because the high school is an all-males high school. My big question is, let's say I'm a boy, I went to St. John's, where do my art education begins?
The exposure begins in first form.
Okay, can I put a pin there? Because does the exposure to art begins before that for students here in Belize?
It normally does, informally, not formally.
So and the same thing I've told my viewers out there, I personally, because I went through preschool, primary school, I went to Nazarene High School, and from there I went to, I'm telling my age now, Belize Technical College.
That didn't exist when I was at the junior college.
Yeah. So I went to those schools, and those schools did not offer formal art education as a part of the curriculum, as a part of the basic curriculum. So my interest in art did come from that. It actually come from something innate within me, because I didn't get exposed to it growing up. But at St. John's Junior College, if you're a male At St. John's College, sorry.
High school,
High school.
yeah.
If you're a male, you can get exposed to art education from first form.
First form, yeah.
And then you go through to second form,
Third
form.
and fourth.
Okay,
So, like, you know, in our country, the education curriculum does have an expressive art component to it. It is there. There are sometimes during the primary school experience that one day they will do some art, but not as organized and developed as we would want it to be to help our students grow in that area. Mostly for it's an art time, but when they reach standard 4, standard 5, standard 6, and they're preparing for the national exam, then the teachers normally would use that time to study for math and science and English instead of
the primary school examination.
that's the normal process, and this is because I speak to a lot of teachers.
Yeah, the primary school examination in the country of Belize is something similar to the United States examination of the SATs. It helps with placement of students throughout the entire country in high school.
But now there's a shift, but we can talk about it later.
Okay. The other question I have, when you reach third form, because in my country, when you reach third form, regardless of what school you're in, you can then differentiate into what area you want to specialize in. For me, even though I am a nurse, I actually specialized in business. My first degree is in business.
So it's a big shift.
Yeah.
Nice.
So when I was in high school, when I reached third form, I actually took economics and bookkeeping because that's what they offered at Nazareth.
Awesome.
So does that also translate to St. John's? You can go into studying art as a core subject.
Well, when I was in high school, I attended St. John's College High School too. So I have a boys experience. And we had the program set up where at second form you can choose between doing visual arts as an elective or doing history. And that was the program set up for almost 40, 50 years. And then for the past 2 years, they shifted the program and they made art a major at the third form
As a core subject.
as a major, yeah. That's why it involves visual arts, graphic art, and also music. So they pull the three areas together, and then when they make their choice selection, it's second form. Which today they are doing career day, and after today they will decide whether they want to do sciences, humanities, that they will include art as a major.
I
take them up to
I
full
do
form.
have a confession to make. My nephew was an art major from St. John's High School, went into art major into visual arts, I think, at the St. John's Junior College. And so because he wants to be a game designer.
Nice.
So that's what he's studying. So you know he's mostly into digital art.
Yeah.
So that's, I think now my sister told me he's attending online school.
Wow. That's
in the-
awesome.
in the
That's
States
awesome.
to
That's awesome.
learn how to make his own games.
Nice.
So I know about games with thanks to him. You know, because he wants to make his own games, and I
So you're
think
a gamer.
yeah,
Nice.
he wants to make his own games.
Awesome.
So he would have probably been one of your students.
What's his name? Okay, good. Later on.
He probably would have been one of your students. I remember he told me Raquel was one of his teachers. Kushner.
Well, that's years ago. That's before me.
Yeah.
That's what. That is before I went to teach at St. John's College.
Raquel was-
Probably in the same school year as I was.
Probably.
attended.
I do have some notes here, guys. The other question, we have already touched on his art education, and one of the questions I always want, because this is the reason why I am so inspired to meet you and your years of experience as an artist, as an art education, and an art educator, sorry. How have you seen art as an industry here in the country of Belize? Because in my view, I don't see a lot. Where I am on the common level, it's not like in the States where we have museums and galleries, so much galleries and so much museums dedicated to the modern day artists, to the classical artists, museum dedicated to abstract artists or to sculpting. In my country, it's far and few in between, but that's on my end because I don't see a lot. How do you see art as an industry here in Belize?
I think it is an industry with great potential. That's what I must say, and it is an industry that is growing, but it is like stagnantly growing. I don't know if you can visualize what stagnantly growing is, right? Two words that don't
Yeah.
really go together.
It's going
But
very slowly.
if I can give my own experience when I first started teaching art, I see progress and I see strides in the development of the market for art and artists in Belize. And there are some artists who are professional artists in Belize who are surviving.
What is your term of a professional artist? Your definition for that term, if you don't mind?
Well, if I should say a professional artist, would be a practicing artist, someone who is living from the work that they create.
Okay.
So that would be a professional artist, whether they are formally or informally trained, but they are producing artwork and they are living. Artwork is paying for their expenses and their livelihood.
So there is professional artists here in the country.
There are a few. I have a couple students who are doing solo art for their livelihood, and yes, it requires a lot more work in terms of marketing and pushing what they do, but they do get customers and clients who buy their works.
Do you think that the art industry is, you say stagnantly growing, but do you think the art industry here in Belize is growing because of a lot of hobbyists are now being more open?
I think it's because of a lot of hobbies.
Because I'm a hobbyist.
Yeah, and I think that when I first started teaching art, there wasn't much of a, I don't want to use the word respect for the visual arts. People didn't see it as something that is important and valuable, but now, today, we're seeing more and more people embracing it in our communities, acknowledging that art is important
Yes.
for wellness, important for their growth and development and things like that, and for their kids and children. And I am having and why that is important is because that for the past years, my focus is teaching the work with the younger generation, because I know that my students are the ones who will grow and recognize the value of art in their lives, and they will encourage their children to do art. In the past, if a child will come to their parent and say, I want to do art, the first thing the parent will do is probably panic and be like, you can't survive from art. Why would you want to do
Like
art?
what my mom told me.
Why do you want to be an artist,
Why
right?
do I want to be an artist? Why do I want to do art? Why don't I just do something else?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of potential, but unlike established areas of professional work, it requires a lot of marketing, a lot of innovation, a lot of you stepping back and looking at what is needed out there and what you can do. Like for my work, I always think about what is the next step. I always want to be ahead of, one step ahead.
And your students, I know you told me you teach within a high school, but do you also do teaching outside the high school?
Yes, I do. I have my own Kirkland Smith School of Visual Arts, where I cater for the needs of the community, whether they are students in the classroom or people like yourself who are adults who want something to do after school, after work, and they want to learn art or do art just for therapy or for skill development. So when I work with children, too. I work with teachers and teachers. So I have a lot of, there's a whole different, a wide range of different groups that I work with to cater for in terms of the art needs in the country, both from the classroom and outside of the classroom.
One of the things that I have found interesting, and I say interesting because when I started my art journey actually started in 2018. And when I started my art journey, I realized that as I went along, not only did my skill improve as an artist, but also my way of viewing, my perception, the way I perceive things within myself has improved. Like, art has taught me how to be an out-of-the-box thinker. Have your students even expressed that to you, that now they can see things from different angles, from different perspectives, from different viewpoints? Because that is the lesson from art I take into my nursing career.
That is
That,
awesome.
that I use that out of the box thinking. How do I look at the box? Do I look at the box only from this angle, or do I twist it around? Do I see it as a diamond shape? You know, do I look from it from upside down? So
All of them have admitted that they have learned something, that when they look at the world differently. And I think one of the advantages of art, develop observational skills, it helps us to develop an eye for detail, that we see the world differently. And because we see the world differently, we can appreciate beauty in our world much better. Not that the person who doesn't do art can't, but we have an advantage. Instead of seeing the leaves just green,
yeah.
we see different shades.
Yeah, like I was looking at some blue the other day. I looked at one of my fellow nurses, and he's like, "Look at the leaves! Don't you see blue?" It's like, she was like, "Blue? Yes, there's a beautiful shade of Persian blue in the leaf shadows." And she's like, "I don't see." She looks at leaves and see blue.
Ah. You're seeing colors now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an awesome experience, man. And it's something that they can appreciate.
Okay. We have already touched on most of the questions that I've already asked. I'm just looking through my notes to see one question we didn't touch on a lot was the art style of Belizeans, because I love watercolors, guys. I really, 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 really do. But I noticed that I am one of the few people in this country that loves watercolor. And maybe it goes back to the fact that I was not formally introduced to art within my country, because I talked to other artists who were some of your past students, and they're like, "Oh, I love acrylics," and I'm like, "Huh?" And they say, "Oh, because they teach acrylics at school." Now, the question I need to know is, why was acrylics mostly taught at school more than the other mediums?
Well, that's a very good question, because acrylic is a medium that it is very versatile, and it has a lot of advantages over watercolor and oil. The drying time is short, and once it dries, it's set. It won't easily damage if anything falls in it. And it's good for, especially at the end of fourth form when they would sign up for CXC Visual Arts. It is a drying medium. It dries, and it is a wet medium that once it's set, it pretty much stays that way. And in transportation, if anything falls on it, if there's no fixative, then it won't be damaged so easily. Right? Watercolor has a disadvantage to it. And acrylic paint can easily be manipulated, and it's water soluble too. So and that's a big advantage over oil. So we don't use oil because of the health hazard that might come with it as well. There are more things, and it works best for the high school level and primary school level. So it's pretty safe. It's pretty safe. Well, watercolor now, then it's great medium to work with. I work with oil. So those are lovely mediums, but the acrylic really has an advantage over them when it comes to the high school level.
I noticed you have some of your products out. One of the things I did not say is that Mr. Smith, as well as being an art educator, he also tries to bring in products for his students to use, because you guys know me, I'm struggling here in the country when it comes to art supplies. And so he sells some of the art supplies for his students, though we battle a lot of times because he sells mostly acrylics. But it's okay, I'm getting into acrylics. I just confessed I'm getting into acrylic paint. It's a slow progression.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Can you tell us more about what made you start selling your own art products?
And then before I speak about that, another advantage of acrylic is that it is a cheaper medium. It's not as expensive as oil or watercolor. So for the student, it is more affordable. So that's something that really, really helps when it comes to price. Now, all of this that you see has evolved out of the need for good art supplies. And over the years teaching art, I realized that there are a lot of limitations when it comes to getting good art supplies here in Belize, and it made me outsource and look for different areas.
Something like what I do.
Yeah.
Because I bring my own products.
For my classes that I do with my students, I prepare a kit for them.
Okay.
I do buy a lot of materials in Belize that I can get here, but I also included those that I have to outsource. So it's a combination of what is here and what I want.
Okay. Do you find that now that the art market in the country of Belize has grown substantially? Because, for instance, now I found paint markers at A&R and Stationery House sell Poscas, you sell Poscas. You know, when I started in 2018, I couldn't find a Posca to save my life.
True.
And that was only like, what, 4 years
4 years
ago?
ago. I think it is exploding, and I think that the pandemic has, in a way, slowed it down. But I think the momentum is building, and I see there's a good, it's a bright future that I foresee for the next few years. I think a lot of good things will come out of the art and the art programs that we're working towards in the country. And there's one particular person who has been very influential. In fact, more than one people have been influential when it comes to art movements and support for artists in Belize. And I have my two mentors, Mrs. Michelle Perdomo, who has passed away. She started the art program at St. John's College, and then Mr. Musa, who has been a great
minister?
inspiration. No, the brother, the
Oh.
artist, yeah, Sir Musa.
Okay.
He has been a great inspiration and a mentor to me, along with my others who I have encountered in my years of experience, and also a lot of the movement in the art world that you see in our country, right, has come out from students of mine, students who have been inspired and who have been motivated to do and do more.
So, one of the other, along the lines of art supplies coming to Belize, what makes these products you sell to your students and to the broader population different from the ones that I can buy at A&R or at Station House? Not to say that what they sell is bad, but to say maybe what do you sell that is different?
I always think about quality and affordability. So those are two things that are important. We want to have access to good materials but at affordable prices. And a lot of times the materials that I bring in, I sell them at a loss, just in order for the students to, or the artists to be able to afford them. Or even if it means cutting just the cost. So those are things that are important. And I am very observant, and I look around. I see what is there, what is needed. Even you, and when we speak, I see what you like, and I try to work towards these things that people would want, artists would want. And I try to have other materials that I can say, hey, this can work and it's really good. So far, I've had excellent reviews in terms of the products and in terms of the affordability.
I notice you bring in a lot of more professionally in price and stuff. Not to say, because the stuff that I find at A&R Station House are more on the kids to student grade quality when it comes to art supplies. And I notice you have Liquitex, I notice you have the Karen Dosh graphite. So you do bring in products that are on the more professional end.
Because like for me, I've learned from university. I used to be the type of artist who you use the materials that you can find, which is at a stage, at a beginner's level, it is good. But as you grow, you want to be exposed to better material. The quality of the material affects the quality of the work. And I have seen where art is the only subject in school where students will want to use any type of pencil to draw. And if they go to the science lab, they can't use any type of equipment to work with. They have to have specific equipment. When they go to the TDU, they have to have specific equipment. So when they go to any other subject, they have specific equipment that, and the teacher will say, no, you can't use that. You have to use this. And likewise, the artists need to understand that we want good materials and the right materials too, because those affect the outcome of the work. Paper, paintbrush, pencils, paint, anything along the line that you are working with, you want to make sure you have. And you buy what you can afford. I mean, I learned this from my professor at university. You can buy what you can afford, but art involves also an investment. I tell anybody who wants to go in art that initially it will appear expensive. It is an expensive hobby, but in the long run, if you're investing it for the purpose of doing work to sell or to create a business for yourself, then in the long run it pays for itself. A lot of the investment that I made over 5 years ago, and initially I was disappointed because I spent so much money, thousands of dollars, and I saw no returns. It's like, man, why did I do this? I was discouraged many times in my life as an artist, as an art teacher, but I see the investment coming out slowly. Years later, I come up with the same idea, and it takes flight. So it requires a lot of patience and persistence. So you know.
The last question I have is, where do you view me? Because I am an art YouTuber that is a hobbyist. So where do you view me on the art spectrum? I know I'm not professional, but where do you view me in this entire in the entire art industry in Belize?
I think you are in the middle. You probably have the middle child syndrome. I don't know, but you're in the middle because I see in you a passion that that will make you want to go the extra mile, that you want to push, and you are not afraid to explore. You're not afraid to do things that some people would not want to do. Right? Even as an artist, as an art teacher, I'm very I want what's the word that I want to use is that I'm very particular about a lot of things. Like I don't like the mess when it comes to art. I can paint with this screw with my nice pretty shirt on, but I'll make sure I'm not as messy. Some of my students will have paint all over them.
All right.
And I really can't, like, that's my own, but I think you have the passion that, a lot of artists, we need in our country. And if you want to get something done, you push for it. You have inspired me, by the way. You have inspired me to do more, and inspiration is not just coming from me to my students. My students inspire me. Sometimes I can get very discouraged as an artist, as an art teacher, but my inspiration are from my fellow
YouTube artists. I'm the third Belizean I know who has a YouTube channel.
And it's a good thing because YouTube is a good friend too, a good teacher because you can learn anything that you can find there. Whatever, if I need to do something on my car in the house, YouTube helps me.
Yeah.
But it also helps when you have that formal training in person. It adds to it, and I realized that even though I was very skilled in art from when I was a child, going to high school and getting exposed to art, doing art in the classroom helped my skill to develop. And when I went to university, it really expanded my whole view and worldview and those different aspects of my skills. So it really helps. So learning in person formally
And the YouTube.
and then informally, I think that's a good combination.
So thank you so much, Mr. Smith. You have given me a lot to chew on. You have.
It has been an honor.
Yes, and he's still my teacher. The class isn't over. We still have a whole month left to go. I do have my homework because I do have homework for him. Trust me, he still gives homework to us. So thank you so much, and I'm sure my audience is going to enjoy this interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.